Well, good morning, everyone, and I thank you for being here for this important press conference on HB 1259, which was the Texas Independence Referendum Act. I'm honored to be joined by my fellow representatives and also Daniel Miller from Texas National Movement. And we're grateful that we have the press here this morning because this bill, this referendum to allow the people of Texas to make their voice heard on the future and the vision for this great state has been denied by this legislature. Now, things like this, these big ideas, these important ideas for the state of Texas, or these important ideas for America, were not always accepted in the beginning when they came about. And it's unfortunate that that's happening again today when we see what's going on in our nation, when we see what's going on even in our state. And I'm grateful that the people of Texas have not given up hope on the future of our state, and our desire for this bill, this referendum, was to allow the people's voice to be heard so that the legislature would have the courage and the confidence to bring forth a referendum so that we can begin the discussion on the future of Texas. We've had some very important victories this session for liberty and constitutional freedoms. And these victories need to be celebrated. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, the people of Texas were denied the opportunity to discuss and debate the fundamental question of self-determination and self-governance. With the utmost sincerity and concern, I submit to you that our state is on the precipice of succumbing to the unconstitutional edicts of the federal government. The people of Texas should not be commanded or coerced by any outside influence to give up our God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And again, these God-given rights were ensured and enshrined in our nation through our Constitution, through those people that decided that we're not going to sit back when we have a tyrannical government that was England, that was the King of England. And that was not always the most popular decision, but they did not stop. They stood strong and they persevered, and that brought us this great nation. Same thing happened with the Alamo. Texas decided we're not going to have a tyrannical dictator in Santa Ana dictate to Texans, Americans, and take away their rights. And if they did not persevere and have the courage to stand against a great enemy, a strong enemy, much, much larger than them, then we would not even have the state of Texas. And so we're here today, again, standing for Texas, this great state that was a great republic that could, and I believe will, become a Republic of Texas again, because Texans want their freedoms and liberties protected. Our religious liberty, our freedom of speech, our Second Amendment rights, and the right of life are all endangered every time Congress meets. This is not a new problem. This is not a new situation. It's not just because of this president or this administration. This has been happening slowly and consistently for decades. We are proud of our culture and our values, and we will defend them. There is now sufficient evidence in the public square that the people of Texas are not aligned with the path the federal government has created for us. Seeing as this divide has proven itself to be anything but inferior, we are impelled to submit a referendum to the people that they may be the ultimate arbiters of their destiny. Again, we're here today because the legislature did not allow the people the opportunity to vote and have their voice heard. We will actually, besides this press conference, we will actually be having, and it's going on right now, a virtual hearing to give the people of Texas the voice they were denied. And again, these are the people of Texas. It's not a small group. And I ask and I hope that our fellow legislators, my colleagues, would listen to the people and that this referendum would be given to them for them to vote on the future of Texas as soon as possible, whether it be in a special session or next session. And with that, I'll introduce Daniel Miller from Texas National Movement. Daniel has been a tremendous, tremendous help to me to bring this legislation forward, but also talk about courage and perseverance in the midst of much adversity against him, has stood strong for many decades. And I want him to be able to come here and explain to you about the virtual hearing that he will be helping to put on. Daniel Miller.
Well, hello. My name is Daniel Miller, and I am president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. I am not a legislator, but I am here to deliver a message from the people who put the legislators here in this building. On August the 24th, 1996, I personally pledged to work for the political, cultural, and economic independence of Texas. That personal pledge led to the formation of our organization in 2005, and the formation of that organization has brought us together today. At the beginning of this legislative session, Representative Biederman brought the discussion of Texas becoming a self-governing independent nation to its next phase by filing House Bill 1359. This legislation did not propose independence, nor was it to give the people of Texas an up or down vote on withdrawing from the Union, or as it's more commonly referred to as TEXIT. Rather, it gave the people of Texas an opportunity to express their political will at the ballot box on merely forming a legislative committee to begin the process of planning how an orderly exit from the Union could occur. From day one, this legislation, Representative Biederman, his colleagues, the TNM, and the entirety of the TEXIT movement have come under a barrage of misinformation, slurs, and aggression from the media and a political establishment who have actively fought placing such a fundamental question of governance in the hands of the people. We have seen Texas voters, constituents of every elected official in this building, ridiculed, minimized, lied to, lied about, mistreated, dismissed, and vilified. Yet, our movement and our ranks have steadily grown. Even with the thousands upon thousands of calls and visits both to district offices and here at the Capitol, the chairman of the State Affairs Committee, Chris Patty, refused to even schedule this bill for a hearing, squelching the voice of the people. It is rare for a single piece of legislation to receive this much of an outpouring of support, but yet be denied its day. And to this very day, Chairman Patty has ignored the pleas of Texans who have done all but beg for this bill to be heard. And he has not scheduled it for a hearing, effectively killing it for this session. The only reason to not give this legislation a public hearing is to perpetuate the lie that TEXIT supporters are old, white, and uneducated. In short, the political establishment doesn't want the world to see the true face of TEXIT. And it's because of this failure to respect the wishes of the people and at a minimum give House Bill 1359 its day for a public hearing we took the unprecedented step of allowing stakeholders to record and submit their testimony for a virtual committee hearing. To our knowledge, nothing like this has ever been done before. On May 3rd, we invited anyone who would have testified in an actual hearing to submit their video testimony, and the response has been overwhelming. It shatters the common misconceptions about TEXIT supporters and should serve as a warning to the legislators who were so quick to dismiss these people, their constituents. If this testimony were given in an actual committee hearing, House Bill 1359 would go down as the most testified bill in legislative history. All of the testimony currently submitted, which will be live streamed after this press conference, played back to back, will be in excess of 15 hours and counting. The testimony includes men and women ages 14 to 89. There are farmers, ranchers, teachers, doctors, nurses, lawyers, engineers, oil and gas workers, police officers, and other first responders. It includes current and former elected officials, current and former federal workers. They are blue-collar, white-collar, business owners, and hardworking Texans. It includes 2 former CIA agents and veterans from every branch and every armed conflict since World War II. There are Republicans, Democrats, and independents, from the highly political to the apolitical. Every socioeconomic group and every ethnic background is fairly and accurately represented. There are native Texans and Texans by choice. There are Texans living abroad. It also includes well-wishers, from the Londoner who campaigned for Brexit to a young man from Jerusalem who looks to Texas to set a leadership example for the rest of the world and champion the cause of freedom, liberty, and independence. And there is the heart-wrenching testimony from the father of a young man who was ruthlessly murdered as a result of the federal government's failure on our southern border. And while these people may seem to have very little in common, they were definitely united in several key areas. First, their universal praise and admiration for Representative Biederman and his fellow legislators who championed their right to vote to begin the TEXIT process. They count you as heroes. They count you as heroes simply for believing in their right to determine their political destiny. They were also universal in their love of their families, friends, neighbors, and Texas, as well as their strong belief in the principles of liberty and a constitutional Republican form of government. Second, they universally expressed their alarm over the course of the federal government, its failures on the border and immigration, the economic imbalances experienced by Texans as a part of the federal system, which serves to drive our most vulnerable citizens into poverty, and the clear and present danger to our fundamental rights posed by the current ideologues in control of Washington, D.C., who believe that amendments are not absolute. Third, everyone, no matter whether they are for TEXIT or undecided on the issue, made it very clear that they simply wanted the right to vote on it as guaranteed by Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. They were also clear that they view any impediment to their ability to vote on this issue as a trampling of their fundamental and inalienable right to reform, alter, or abolish their form of government, and will judge anyone hindering House Bill 1359 in such a light. And finally, the people of Texas are tired of being treated like they are too stupid or ignorant to make their own decisions about how they are governed. They are tired of being dismissed, mischaracterized, vilified, and denied. They are tired of gestures in the form of tersely worded resolutions and lawsuits, and they are tired of seeing time carved out in a short legislative session for mustaches and mermaids, while they're being told there is no time to address giving them a vote to determine their political destiny. The fact is, the political leadership in this state is afraid to put this issue to the voters for one simple reason. If the people of Texas are asked to choose between reclaiming their right of self-government and a federal government that has failed Texans time and time and time again, they will choose TEXIT in overwhelming numbers. And it is not too late to right this wrong that has been perpetrated against the people of Texas. Legislators can join these heroes and join our call as we call now for Governor Abbott to add House Bill 1359, or at a minimum this language, to the call for the anticipated special session in September. As we head into this next election cycle, the people have made it clear that they want a vote on TEXIT, and anyone seeking office will be judged solely on their support, opposition, or lack of support on House Bill 1359. They have been clear. There will either be a referendum on TEXIT or a referendum on the elected officials who stood in the way of the people and their right to vote. So in conclusion, as we get ready to enjoy some further remarks and get ready for this virtual testimony, let me say this, is that in my 25 years of service to the cause of Texas independence, listening to, collecting this virtual testimony has been a privilege. It's been a privilege to be a part of giving a voice to the voiceless and a champion to those who have been unjustly maligned and silenced. TEXIT supporters will not go away. They have been given a voice and will not stop until they get a choice.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Brian Slaton, and I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank Daniel Miller and thank Representative Biederman for their vision and leadership to bring this issue to Texans. It's a very important issue, and it's a shame that it was not given a hearing this session. You know, the way I like to describe it, you know, it is a substantive conversation. It is a tough conversation to have, but we should have it. This building exists for us to have conversations and debate over issues in the committee rooms and on the House floor. As an example of the way I see conversation and debate, it's like sharpening a knife. You got to sharpen both sides of that blade, and at the end you get a useful tool. And in this discussion, this referendum for TEXIT is so important to have. Texans are concerned about what's going on in the federal government, and like I say, we need to have this conversation. And then I also want to point something out, that in this building, this is my first session, but one thing I hear all the time is local control. Local control. A bill comes up and they want to petition our support for it or against it for local control. What I don't understand when people make that point or take that stance is, why does it stop there? They want it to stop at a local municipality, some government entity, some mobility authority, local control. What about we the people? Why doesn't local control go down to the Texan and let us vote and let us decide? I don't understand why it always stops there. It stops with some form of red tape, some form of government. Let Texans decide. Let us have this conversation so that we can correct things in the legislature, encourage D.C. to correct things. We make our own decisions through the referendum. Whatever happens as a part of having these conversations needs to happen. And once again, I'm so proud to be here, and I want to thank them again for their vision and leadership to bring TEXIT and this referendum to Texans to talk about and discuss, because it should be we the people discussing this. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for being here in Texas. You know, I'm here, this is my 5th term, and I'm Phil Stevenson, State Representative, District 85 in the local government down in Wharton County. I'm a practicing CPA. I actually understand how to read a budget. It's amazing. We have, but the biggest thing I see up here is local control, which is really talking to the people. That's what I base everything on since I've been up here. We have bills that are really dumb and stupid that we go out and know they never do anything when you understand the lynching. But let me say this, there is nothing more important in this world for anybody but liberty and freedom. That's it. Education makes you better. We need to have that. We need to have a bunch of stuff. But we are spending the best state in the union by far. That's over $180 billion of equity in this state. we have a depository in Texas, which passed a few times ago under another representative, and I was a big part of that. Now we could actually be a country if we want to, because we can back to our own currency, the Texas dollar or something like that. That's not what I'm for. I am for the people to wake up and understand we fought everything in the Constitution for liberty, freedom, and we seem to give that up like nothing. And that's what I thank you for helping. We got to get back on the path. We just say, oh, it's too much trouble, and I got all the goodies in the world. Remember, Americans right now, I would say we worry more about $180 Michael Jordan tennis shoes than we do about freedom and liberty. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Jeff Cason. I'm Representative Cason. This is my first term. I'm a freshman. And when I came here to the legislature, one of the things that I focused on was trying to build bridges through communication. One of the things I've found is that people are afraid to communicate because a lot of times they're afraid of the truth. You know, when I think of Texas, I think of everything my colleagues and Mr. Miller have said this morning. You know, liberty, freedom, bravery, fearlessness. One of the things we have to do is not be afraid to communicate with each other. And one of the things about HB 1359, the Texas Referendum Act, is it's a starting point to communicate ideas, beliefs of freedom and liberty. And we can't be afraid to take that step. I think about the brave men and women at the Alamo, the people that's gone before us in this great state. And we've always been leaders in Texas. We're not followers, we're leaders. This is a starting point. Being allowed to have a dialogue about this referendum doesn't mean we're leaving the Union. We shouldn't be afraid to start this dialogue. We shouldn't be afraid to see where it leads us. But we have to build bridges via communication, and we have to talk with each other. If we don't, without communication, you have no progress, you have no ideas, you have no freedom, you have no liberty. You have tyranny, because one or two or a handful of people do all the talking, do all the leading, do all the thinking. The people of Texas deserve the opportunity to have this dialogue. So I'm grateful to Representative Biederman, Mr. Miller, Representative Slaton, Representative Stevenson, and others who have signed on to this act as joint or co-authors, who believe in the people of Texas's God-given right to have a dialogue like this. And I just want to thank everybody that's here this morning. Pray for us, remain active, support us. Let's keep this alive, even though it didn't get a hearing. Many, many other bills did not get hearings as well, but that doesn't mean this is where it's stopping. So thank you. God bless you. God bless Texas.
Amen.
One of the most important things I forgot to bring up is God.
Amen.
And that's what we base everything on. And actually, after 10 years, I think, this 5th term, I actually have the resolution that says we can say God, prayer, and the 10 Commandments anywhere we want to. Our kids can go pray where they want to, and I hope we can make that is a biggie deal, folks. If you don't believe in God, I'm sorry. You can believe in anything. We're not even asking just Christianity. We're talking about believing something bigger than yourself. I just forgot that. That's a big, important minute. And then I get the resolutions coming up this week, and I get to do it. And I appreciate that.
Amen to that. Thank you, Representative Stevenson. And again, that's why we're here. We're here not to glorify man. We're not here for our own ego. We are here, and we've been elected to serve God and to glorify all that he's done for us and all that he's done in this, through his creation. And this is just one part of it. When we look at this referendum, this bill, this is not about secession on a vote. And yet that is what has been put forth by many legislators, but especially by the media. It's an easy way to ridicule and to minimalize what this is about. And so this is not a bill for secession. In fact, it says it in the bill that we cannot secede with this vote. This is about what Representative Cason said. This is about beginning a dialogue and discussion about the future of the greatest state in this nation. It's about the discussion about the future of a state that the world is looking at. Not only the other states in the United States looking to Texas to lead, the world is. Even back, again at the Alamo, Colonel Travis said, the world is watching us. What we do here in this Battle of the Alamo for Texas independence, the world is watching. The world is watching today. And this is just the beginning. This is not the end. And so I thank all of you for being here today. I thank you for being proud and courageous to stand up as Americans. Americans do not stand for tyranny. Americans created this country. They created the federal government. They created our Constitution, which is one of the greatest documents ever written. And it is being trampled on by the very government that we put in charge with limited powers. And now the states are mostly afraid to stand up for their own rights that were given to us in this Constitution. So again, I thank you for being here, and we would be welcome to take any questions that you have.
Why do you think Chairman Patty wouldn't give it a hearing?
There's a lot going on this session, and this is a very big idea. And again, since it was brought forth as a secession bill by the media and by other legislators, it was minimalized, and it's unfortunate.
Did you have the votes on the House floor if it got there?
Excuse me?
Did you have the votes to pass this on the House floor if it got there? Did you poll on it?
Well, sure, we talked to a lot of people, but it's one thing to say I'm for or against. It's another thing to be on the floor and take a vote. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What can we as citizens do to help push this forward?
Well, you're doing the right thing. Let's get on. Make sure you have your testimony. This is a virtual hearing for all Texans, for or against this referendum. And so let the people have their voices heard. My bill was let the people vote. Well, right now, let the people's voice be heard loud and clear. So this legislature, this Texas legislature, the 9th largest economy in the whole world, so that they would have the confidence that we don't need to be under the tyranny of anybody, whether it's Santa Ana, whether it's the King of England, or whether it's our federal government right now.
It's clear the bill just calls for a referendum on secession, but do you personally favor secession?
I personally favor our liberties and freedoms. If there was a way for the federal government to restrain itself, then that's probably what most people would want. But the chances of that are slim to none.
So you favor secession?
I favor the discussion, and I favor having the power that comes from a vote of the people, so that we have leverage, so that we can bring our country back to what it should be through our Constitution. We are being run in an unconstitutional way by this tyrannical government that is not allowing or not keeping their restraint of their limited powers.
And the court system is no longer able to rein that in?
Well, that's quite clear. The court system is running the show, and they're not supposed to be. It should be legislature and it should be the people.
But where should the people turn if they believe the
No, it's not the courts.
Where do you go?
It goes to the legislature. It goes right to this bill.
You're representing.
It goes to the vote of the people. And that's what gives us power. It's we the people. That's where the power is. Well, thank you very much. We're grateful for you to be here. And as one of our representatives has already said, God bless Texas, the greatest state in the union and just the greatest people. When you go places, you say, I'm from Texas. You're American, you love your country, but we love Texas. God bless Texas.